In a bold move that has captured the global spotlight, the United States has unilaterally imposed a staggering 50% tariff on Indian goods, citing India's continued purchase of Russian oil as a threat to economic and strategic stability. The international community is left to ponder not only the immediate trade repercussions, but also the far-reaching implications for global alliances and long-established economic dependencies. As we stand on the precipice of a potential trade war, questions arise. What does this mean for the balance of power, for economic resilience, and for the intricate web of international relationships that have long underpinned world trade? Today, we embark on a journey through the intricate landscape of geopolitical tension, examining the 10 countries that might stand behind the United States in this escalating conflict, each with its own historical ties, economic interests, and strategic priorities. At the heart of this unfolding drama is a clash of principles and priorities. In August 2025, a decisive policy measure was taken by the U.S. government, a policy that not only targeted India for its energy procurement strategies, but also signaled a broader warning to the world about the United States' willingness to reshape global trade norms. Indian officials have condemned the tariffs as unfair, unjustified, and unreasonable, arguing that their import decisions are driven solely by market imperatives designed to secure energy for over 1.4 billion citizens. Meanwhile, U.S. policymakers argue that such measures are necessary to counter what they perceive as economic dependencies that pose risks to national security. It is in this charged environment that we now explore which nations, guided by shared interests and strategic calculations, might decide to align themselves with the United States in this confrontation. Let us begin our exploration with Canada, a neighbor with deep economic and cultural ties to the United States. Canada has long been a steadfast partner in trade and defense, and its policy decisions often mirror those of its southern neighbor. As tensions grow across the Atlantic and Pacific, Canada's commitment to upholding economic stability and ensuring predictable trade relations remains paramount. With an economy closely integrated with that of the U.S., Canadian policymakers may view the 50% tariff as a measure designed to deter market distortions that could ultimately harm both nations. Simple enough, loyalty is intertwined with economic interdependence. Next, we turn our attention to the United Kingdom, a nation with rich historical alliances and a robust role in global finance and diplomacy. The UK has weathered myriad geopolitical storms over the centuries and has developed an uncanny ability to navigate shifting alliances. With its strong transatlantic links and a commitment to the liberal international order, the UK might see US actions as a necessary stand against practices that disrupt global trade fairness. Furthermore, British economic interests in maintaining a level playing field could drive a sympathetic outlook toward the U.S. position against policies that appear selectively punitive. Japan also emerges as a key player in this high-stakes exposition. As an economic powerhouse and a critical ally in the Asia-Pacific region, Japan has a vested interest in a stable international order. The nation's leadership, always keenly aware of the risks posed by energy market volatility, may recognize the significant risk that unchecked energy trade practices present. For Japan, aligning strategically with the United States could not only secure its energy supply chains, but also reinforce its broader commitment to a rules-based global order. A few words: stability matters most. Germany, the economic engine of Europe, similarly finds itself at a crossroads. Germany's export-driven economy has long relied on predictable and stable international markets, and its policymakers are wary of any actions that might spiral into broader economic disruptions. With a history of diplomatic engagement and pragmatic realism in international affairs, Germany might opt for support of U.S. measures as a means to safeguard economic interests and ensure that energy markets remain transparent and competitive. German resolve in upholding economic principles could very well translate into a willingness to lend its voice to a coordinated response. France, with its storied legacy in international diplomacy and a commitment to multilateral engagement, presents another intriguing case. French policymakers have consistently emphasized the importance of autonomy and strategic independence. Nonetheless, when faced with what is perceived as selective economic coercion, there exists the possibility that France might back the U.S. stance to protect the integrity of the global economic system. Such alignment would be driven by both financial considerations and a broader commitment to preventing market destabilization, even if it comes at the cost of confronting a major trade partner. Australia, frequently seen as America's steadfast ally in the Indo-Pacific region, also enters this fray. With deep-seated ties to U.S. foreign policy and an acute awareness of regional security dynamics, Australia's support could be pivotal in balancing power dynamics in the broader Asian context. Australian leaders understand that energy security and economic stability are inextricably linked, and they have repeatedly signaled a willingness to act in concert with allies when confronted by market practices that undermine stability. A short verdict: Australia stands with its allies. Italy, a cornerstone of European unity, offers yet another perspective. Italy's economy, steeped in both tradition and modern innovation, depends critically on stable international trade flows. Italian decision-makers are likely to weigh the cost of maintaining neutrality against the economic destabilization that might follow an unchecked market imbalance. Should the pressures of economic realism and alliance loyalty converge, Italy could be inclined to support policies that advocate for a reformed and fair global trade system, one that the United States is actively trying to enforce in this tense moment. Turning to South Korea, we find a nation that has rapidly transformed into a global technology and industrial leader. South Korea has a history of aligning with the United States to counterbalance regional threats and to secure a place in the leadership of international political and economic institutions. Its close economic ties with both America and the broader global community mean that South Korea views energy stability as critical to its continued growth. In this context, backing the U.S. might be viewed not simply as a political gesture, but as a pragmatic step necessary to avert the kinds of market disruptions that could reverberate throughout the technology and manufacturing sectors. Spain, a country with deep cultural and economic roots in both Europe and the Americas, has consistently championed the cause of economic justice on the international stage. As debates rage over market manipulation and the fairness of tariff imposition, Spain's traditional support for policies that favor equitable trade practices may lead it to side with the United States. Such a stance would represent a commitment to safeguarding a global trading system, one that is designed to ensure that no nation can unilaterally tip the scales. Simply put, fairness is a universal language. Finally, we consider the Netherlands, a country renowned for its analytical prowess, diplomatic finesse, and dedication to international commerce. The Dutch economic model is built on the pillars of open markets and stringent adherence to international law. In light of the recent measures, the Netherlands could well find itself aligning with the United States in an effort to preserve a balanced global trade environment. Dutch support would not come lightly. It would be rooted in a deep-seated belief in the importance of a rules-based system that deters opportunistic behavior and maintains equilibrium in international economic relations. Throughout our examination, a few key themes have persisted. The core of this debate revolves around economic dependencies, national security, and historical alliances. The United States' imposition of the tariff is not a random act, but rather a calculated step designed to send a message that market irregularities and selective targeting will not be tolerated without consequence. This narrative, though though dressed in the language of economics, carries profound implications for international diplomacy and the ideological underpinnings of global governance. Each potential ally faces its own set of domestic pressures and historical contexts that color its international outlook, and it is against this complex mosaic that their decisions must be understood. At the same time, we must recognize that the global stage is rarely binary. Just as the United States is asserting its authority, other nations are being forced to reconsider their allegiances and recalibrate their economic strategies. The delicate balance between national interest and collective international responsibility is once again at the forefront. Tensions have been stoked, and while many countries might align with the United States in principle, the realpolitik of the situation means that alliances will be tested by an array of factors, from economic vulnerabilities to long-standing historical ties. In this arena, rhetoric and policy are inextricably linked, and small shifts in policy can lead to wide-reaching consequences. As the situation unfolds, one cannot ignore the specter of secondary sanctions and the potential for additional tariffs on those countries that continue to engage in the trade of Russian oil. The United States has been clear in its message. Adherence to market norms and a commitment to economic fairness are non-negotiable. This assertion, meanwhile, casts a long shadow over any nation that has, until now, enjoyed relative leeway. The opponents of this policy argue that it exemplifies a neo-colonial agenda, while supporters maintain that it is a necessary step to enforce accountability in global trade. In this complex tug-of-war, every decision is laden with economic and political implications that must be carefully weighed. There is also a profound human element at play. The tariffs, while ostensibly about economic fairness, touch upon the livelihoods of millions. In India, the ramifications of decreased GDP growth and the subsequent economic slowdown are very real. In the United States, the policy is justified as a means of preserving not only national security, but also the economic well-being of an entire nation. The empathetic understanding of these economic realities should not be lost in the arithmetic of percentage points and tariffs. Rather, they serve as a reminder that behind every diplomatic maneuver and trade dispute are the lives of ordinary citizens who suddenly find themselves part of a high-stakes global chess game. The narrative that is being woven today is one of tension, pragmatism, and the relentless pursuit of stability in an increasingly complex world. The strategic choices made in this turbulent moment will undoubtedly shape the contours of international relations for years to come. Each of the 10 countries we have examined, the stalwart Canada, the historically aligned United Kingdom, the strategically poised Japan, the economically pragmatic Germany, the diplomatically assertive France, the security-conscious Australia, the trade-dependent Italy, the tech-forward South Korea, the fairness-driven Spain, and the analytically astute Netherlands, brings its own distinct motivations to the table. Their collective actions will resonate far beyond the immediate issue at hand, influencing global trade, political alliances, and perhaps even the future of diplomacy itself. As we draw this analysis to a close, it is clear that the current moment is more than just a fleeting trade disagreement. It has ignited a debate that touches on the very core of how nations interact, protect their interests, and define fairness in global commerce. While the United States seeks to reshape international trade dynamics through bold fiscal measures, the ripple effects extend through every market and across every border. The coming months will reveal whether these potential alliances solidify and whether the recalibration of global power can prevent a descent into greater conflict. In this era of rapid change and uncertainty, the choices made today will define the geopolitical landscape for future generations. The intricate dance of diplomacy, economics, and national interest has never been more delicate, nor the stakes higher. The international community now watches and waits, understanding that every decision, every policy, and every alliance is a piece of the greater puzzle that is our interconnected world. Stay informed on the evolving dynamics of international trade and diplomacy. Subscribe for more in-depth analyses on global economic trends.